So this is all you need to know for hyperbola. It is the horizontal. Okay. The horizontal is the x minus h squared over the a squared minus the y minus k squared over the b squared equals 1. Notice your a is first. Okay. Y minus k squared over a squared minus x minus h squared over b squared equals 1 is your vertical. We're going to do this on a review note too. So you can take a picture of it now, but you're also going to rewrite that later. The center is your HK. The A is the center to vertex. The B is the center to covertex. The C is center to focus. C squared equals a squared plus b squared for hyperbolas. And then your asymptotes, if it's vertical. No, sorry, this one's horizontal first. If it's horizontal, got a color I can see. If it's horizontal, then it's the B over A. And if it's vertical, oh, I put the H in the V. Then it's A over B, okay? And then your transverse axis is 2A and your conjugate axis is 2B. So that kind of like sums it all up. Again, we're going to fill that in on the note in a little bit, but let's go through these questions. So the first one said that you had a foci of -1, 5, and -1, 1. So I plotted those points first, and that told me it was vertical. And that told me that the center was -1, 3. And it told me that C was 2 because C is the distance from the center to the foci, or half the distance from focus to focus. Then your vertices were -1, 2 and -1, 4. This confirms it's vertical and confirms your centers halfway between them. And this time gives you the A is 1. So now you've got the A and the C. You're going to use that in the C squared equals A squared plus B squared to solve for B squared, which is 3. And then because it's vertical, the Y comes first. Y minus 3 squared over 1. You don't need the 1, but you can put it there if you want. Minus x plus 1 squared over 3 equals 1. So your test is a combination of multiple choice and open-ended. If it's a graph, if it's a here's an equation, graph and label all the things, it's open-ended. If it's here's all the things, find the equation, it might be multiple choice. Okay, so some of the conics are multiple choice and some of them aren't, but that's the differentiation between them. Yeah. No, and if it was multiple choice and it had a 1, I don't even think it'd be there. Yeah. All right, now, second question. So this is the one that, like I said yesterday, there's a big chunky one for an ellipse, and there's a big chunky one that's worth a lot of points for hyperbola. This is that hyperbola. Not all of them are complete the square. There's 2 complete the square between all 4 conics, but if you get the complete the square with the hyperbola, it's going to start like this. You've got to complete the square, so I grouped together the 9x squared and the 18x. I grouped together the -4y squared and the 16y. I bumped the 43 to the other side. Then I took out, which is in the pink, I took out the 9 and the -4. When you take the -4, be careful because it changes the sign on the 16 to become negative. I would say that's a common mistake. Then complete the square. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. Add the 1 to the left-hand side and add the 1 to the right-hand side. But before you add it, you multiply it times the 9. So 9 times 1 means we're actually adding the 9. Then repeat the process for the y. Take the 4 divided by 2. It's 2 squared. It's 4. I'm adding the 4 inside the parentheses. And I would normally add the 4 to the other side. But before I do that, I have to multiply by the -4. And that makes it a -16. Then I factor. So the 9 stays on the front. Square root the x squared. Square root the 1. Take the sign from the middle. Put it in parentheses and square it. Keep the -4 on the outside, square root the y squared, square root the 4, and put in parentheses and square it. And that equals 36. And then it's got to equal 1. So we divide everything by 36. And this is my standard form of the equation. So as far as points go, whether it's ellipse or hyperbola and we're completing the square, you're going to get points just for that equation. Okay? So if you get the equation wrong, but then everything after it is right based on your wrong equation, it's a nightmare for me to grade, but you won't lose all the points, okay? It's called a carry-through mistake, but anything you did based off a wrong equation would then get the points. Does that make sense? Otherwise, you die if you made one mistake there because you're talking 14 points, like, wrong. Okay. Be careful with your centers, like we talked about it already, but on your quiz, if the X and the Y are switched, be careful, don't fall for that trap, right? This time the X comes first. People don't tend to make mistakes when that happens, but if the Y is first, people tend to switch the X and the Y. So your center is 1, 2. Your A squared is 2. Your A is 2. Your B squared is 9. Your B is 3. It's horizontal because the x comes first, so it's a b over a scenario when you get to your asymptotes. And c squared equals 4 plus 9, so c equals the square root of 13. So then I would go to the graph. I would plot the center at that 1, 3, or 1, 2. Use my A to go right and left. Use my B to go up and down. And then it will tell you you don't have to graph the foci on the test. You will have to put it on a line, but you don't have to graph it. If you had graphed it, it would have been right and left. And then find your vertices, covertices, foci. Again, if it was me, I would double check one thing using your graph. Count your A, count your B, count your C on your graph. But then also go back to your center and add and subtract the A, add and subtract the B and the C. Make sure those things overlap, because some people on the quiz made a mistake by either literally counting wrong on the graph and then you get the point wrong, or trying to add wrong and getting it wrong. So if you do both, you double check yourself, okay? This kind of question I expect to take a little bit of time because it's got so many parts. Just be careful that you don't take too much time here that you don't have time to finish the rest of it. Yeah.
How much questions are there?
That's a good question. All right, last one was, these are the quick ones, right? So these are the time saver ones. Identify the type of conic. Your A is 9, your C is -4. That product would be negative, which makes this a hyperbola.
I was thinking that it
No, yeah, and when it says the word classify or identify the type, and it's gonna be multiple choice, you just wanna use your trick, your AC trick. Can you find it that way? Yes. Did you waste a crap ton of time?
Yes.
Also, yes, yeah. Questions on the warm-up before we fill in the review? Okay, let's do this. Oops. If you want to adjust your seating so you could see that TV, I think the TV is going to be better than me writing on that front board. So I'm going to use the little TV. All right, so we start with, what did I just say? Let me go over that. 13 questions. Oops. 13 questions. 4 graph with multiple part. Okay, which is 1 for each conic. 1 circle, 1 parabola, 1 ellipse, 1 hyperbola, and then 9 multiple choice.
Is there any completing the square?
Yeah, 2.
And that's what the,
2 of the graph ones. 2 complete the square. Could be circle, parabola, ellipse, or hyperbola. 2 of those 4. But if it's a circle, like, think of what it's going to ask, right? If it's a circle, it's going to ask you to get the radius and the center and graph. If it's a parabola, it's going to ask you to get the vertex, the focus, the directrix, and graph. If it's an ellipse, center, vertices, covertices, foci, graph, and then, and eccentricity. And then hyperbola, center, asymptotes, foci, vertices, covertices. Yeah. All right, so we're going to start with the circle. Standard form of a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. HK is your center. R is your radius. So think each one has at least 2 questions. One of them is, here's the information about your conic. Give me the equation. And one is, here's the equation in some form. Give me the conic and the graph, okay? So with circles, we did, here's the equation, complete the square, identify the center and the radius. And then we did, here is the center and a coordinate point, give me the equation. So those are the 2 types you could see, and the intercepts. Those all came from circle. So equation. And then you find the information. Second, you get given x, y, and hk, a point and the center. Third, intercepts. Those 3 types are what we did for circles. Questions on circles? Okay, then came parabolas. Parabolas have 2 different types, a horizontal or a vertical. Horizontal means it opens to the right or to the left. This is a y is squared. So y minus k squared equals 4px minus h. Positive 4p points to the right, negative 4p points to the left. And vertical, meaning it opens up or down, the x is squared. X minus h squared equals 4p y minus k. Positive 4p up, negative 4p down. You're going to need to find the vertex, the focus, and the directrix. God bless you. And know that P is the distance from both the vertex to the focus and also the vertex to the directrix. Make sure that your vertex, your focus are both coordinate points, and your directrix is either an x equals a number or a y equals a number depending on its direction. So if it's vertical, if the directrix is vertical, then it's an x equals, and if the directrix is horizontal, then it's a y equals. So same kind of thing with parabola. Here's an equation, put it in standard form, find the vertex, the directrix, and the focus, and graph. One question. Second question, here is information about your parabola, which could be a vertex and a focus, or a vertex and a directrix, or a directrix and a focus. And you give me the equation. Questions on parabolas? All right, then came ellipses. The horizontal ellipse means it's wider than it is tall, and this means the x is under the h. So h, or x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. And vertical order doesn't matter, but this time the a goes under the y. So bigger goes under the y. A is bigger this time, not first. Your A is center to vertices. B is center to co-vertices. C is center to foci. And c squared equals a squared minus b squared, the opposite of the standard form. You're going to have to find your vertices, your co-vertices, your foci, and your eccentricity, which is c over a. And we need to know that 2a is your major axis and 2b is your minor axis. And the closer to 1, the more rounded your ellipse should be. So if you get something that's really close to 1, it should be almost circular. If you get something that's closer to 0, like a really tiny one, then it should be flatter.
Are you gonna get a question like that?
Well, it just kind of confirms. It's going to ask, it's going to be part of the blanks. But is it going to ask you what it means? No, it's just for you to check it. Yeah. So same thing as parabola. With an ellipse, you're going to get a, here's an equation, possibly put it in standard form or it's already in standard form. Get all the parts of it and graph it. And then you're going to get a question that says, here's information about the ellipse. Give me the equation. Questions on ellipse? Okay. And last up is where we started the day. The hyperbola is, again, ignore rotations. We didn't do it. So horizontal means it points left, the branches point left to right. What's important there is the x comes first. So x minus h squared over a squared minus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. Vertical, it opens up and down. And this time the y comes first. Y minus k squared over a squared minus x minus h squared over b squared equals 1. A is first this time. You can copy and paste A, B, and C from the last one if you want. A is center to vertex. B is center to co-vertex. C is center to focus. What you cannot copy and paste is C squared because it equals A squared plus B squared, opposite of the initial sign. You need to find the center, the vertices, the co-vertices, the foci, the asymptotes, which actually I'm going to add them in the boxes. And the horizontal asymptote, it's y equals k plus and minus b over a, x minus h. And in the vertical, y equals k plus and minus a over b, x minus h. Eccentricity is still c over a. And we also changed the name of our axes. 2a is your transverse, and 2b is conjugate. And just like with the others, you could get one that gives you the equation and ask you for all the parts and to graph it. You're definitely getting one like that. And then you're getting one in the other direction. Here's information about your hyperbola. Get me the equation. Yep.
I thought you said there was gonna be no B over A.
Say again.
I thought there wasn't any eccentricity.
Eccentricity?
Yeah.
On the test, there is.
Okay.
Yeah, there is. On the quiz, there was not.
Okay.
On the test, there is. It's one of your little lines. So like if you have like an ellipse, it's, if you're completing the square, you're getting, complete the square, that's the one line. Find the center, that's one. Find the vertices, that's one. Find the co-vertices, that's one. Find the foci, that's one. Find the eccentricity. So an ellipse could have 6 lines, plus the graph 7, which means it's like 14 points. And then hyperbola, it has all that plus asymptotes. So it's got one more line. Questions on expectations for the test. Obviously, there's no calculator. You could type in every single one of these conics in a calculator. Okay, that is not happening on your test. I will show you how to do it though for standardized test purposes. So if you have your graphing utility, take it out. Classify the conic, not rotation, but classify. If A equals C, it's a circle. If A times C is 0, it's a parabola. If A times C is bigger than 0, which means it's positive, it's an ellipse. And if A times C is less than 0, which means it's negative, it's a hyperbola. And then that is what you don't need to do. Okay. You're gonna get one question on classification. It's your opportunity to get some easy points.